Welcome to this explainer brought to you by Forge College. All right, let's just jump right in. In our previous lesson, we tackled front-end transaction handling, but today, we're shifting gears to the back end. As part of our broader look at RESTful API development for Solana and Web2 integration, we're diving into querying account data and Webhook integration. Specifically, we're going to build the ultimate highly exclusive nightclub for your API, a secure Webhook listener. Look, if you want your app to react to on-chain changes in real time without totally falling apart under pressure, you are in the right place. Webhooks are basically the undisputed industry standard for production-grade distributed apps. We have to move past those clunky, repetitive API calls and really embrace an event-driven architecture to make our systems resilient, lightning fast, and most importantly, secure.
So here's the game plan for today. 1. Webhooks versus constant polling. 2. Building the secure listener. 3. Verifying the hmac signature. 4. Idempotency and catching duplicate events. 5. Acknowledgement and status codes. And finally, 6. Triggering account data queries. It's a packed agenda, so let's get to building.
All right, Section 1, Webhooks versus constant polling.
Let's talk about why we're totally ditching our old strategy of how we ask the blockchain for updates. Polling is, well, it's basically your server acting like an annoying toddler in the backseat of a car, just constantly yelling, "Are we there yet? Did the state change? How about now?" It's exhausting. It brutally burns through your RPC limits, and honestly, it's just a massive waste of money. Because 99% of the time, the answer is just no. Webhooks, on the other hand, are like this ultra-efficient VIP push notification. Instead of waiting in line and constantly bothering the network, the blockchain just calls you. It pushes the update to your server the exact millisecond something actually happens. You only use your resources when there's actual meaningful work to do. So much better, right?
Moving on to Section 2, building the secure listener.
Okay, so we've got our VIP system in theory, but now we have to actually build the front door. When a request hits your server, it needs to go through a super strict sequence. Step 1, receive the event. Step 2, verify the signature. This is your absolute non-negotiable security checkpoint. Step 3, do an idempotency check, just to make sure it's not a duplicate. Step 4, query your targeted data. And finally, Step 5, acknowledge delivery back to the publisher. If you skip any of these, or honestly even just do them out of order, your whole architecture is going to crumble under pressure. This right here is your blueprint for production stability.
But here's the million-dollar question. What if a hacker fakes the message? If you don't aggressively verify who is knocking at your API's door, literally anyone can pretend to be the Solana blockchain. They could trick your system into thinking a massive token transfer just happened. Imagine your app blindly accepting a fake notification saying some user just deposited $1 million. Your backend might trigger real-world payouts, mint new assets, and completely bankrupt your project in seconds. Yeah, not good.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, verifying the hmac signature.
To stop those imposters, we need to hire an unforgiving, mathematically precise bouncer for our API endpoint. Meet your new best friend, the hmac SHA-256 signature. Here's the deal. When the publisher sends a webhook, they slap a cryptographic hash in the header, usually called an X signature. This hash is made by mathematically combining the exact raw request bytes of the payload with a shared secret that only you and the publisher know. Your server takes that incoming payload, uses the exact same secret, and computes its own hash. If they match, the guest is on the list, come on in. But listen closely. You absolutely must compute this on the exact raw bytes. Do not parse the JSON first. If you stringify it, your programming language might add hidden spaces or shuffle the keys around, which totally changes the hash and causes a false rejection. You've got to intercept that raw buffer stream before anything else touches it.
And here's a pro tip that really separates the novices from the senior engineers. You always use a timing-safe comparison function, like crypto.timingsafe in Node.js, when checking those hashes. Why? Because hackers are incredibly sneaky. If you use a standard string comparison, the function checks character by character and fails the microsecond it sees a mismatch. Attackers can literally measure how many milliseconds your server takes to reject them. If it takes a fraction of a millisecond longer, they know they guessed the first character of your secret key correctly. Then they just programmatically brute force your key character by character. A timing-safe comparison takes the exact same amount of time to reject a payload no matter what, giving attackers absolutely zero clues.
Seriously, if there's one golden rule to take away from all our Web3 API courses, it's this. Verify before you trust. You have to unequivocally verify every single byte before trusting it in your system. Don't parse the data, don't touch your database, and don't run any business logic until that hmac signature checks out 100%.
All right, section 4, idempotency, catching duplicate events.
So our mathematically verified guest made it inside the club. Now we hand them to the bartender, who has one job: idempotency. In distributed systems, you are going to get duplicate webhooks. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Networks hiccup all the time, and if your server takes even a few milliseconds too long to respond, the publisher assumes the message got lost and just frantically fires it at you again. Idempotency is just a fancy way of saying an operation yields the exact same result no matter how many times it gets executed. It's like making sure a VIP guest doesn't photocopy a free drink ticket and try to cash it in twice. You just extract the unique event ID from the payload and log it. If that same ID shows up again, your system spots it, short-circuits the process, and ignores the duplicate while still politely saying, "Yep, got it." For a real production setup, you'll want to throw those IDs into a super-fast database like Redis.
Section 5. Acknowledgement and status codes.
We need a way to tell the publisher whether the message was handled properly or if they need to try again. This comes down to choosing your HTTP status codes deliberately. If they send an invalid signature, boom, 401. That tells them you aren't authorized, don't even bother retrying. Payload missing fields, hit them with a 422. Again, no retry. If everything is perfect, or it's a duplicate we already handled, you return a 200 OK. But if you want to be incredibly fast, return a 202 accepted. That basically tells the publisher, hey, got the message, signature is good, I'm going to process this in the background, you can hang up now. It frees up the connection instantly. And of course, if your own database crashes and it's totally your fault, you return a 502 server error. That tells the publisher to hold on to the data and please try again in a few minutes.
Section 6. Triggering account data queries.
So the message is verified, to-duplicated, and happily acknowledged. Now what? Because we already designed highly compact, efficient queries earlier in this module, your webhook listener doesn't have to do any heavy lifting. It can just trigger a targeted downstream fetch, using field selection to refresh only the exact account fields your business logic actually needs. We aren't pulling massive, bloated blobs of on-chain data just to update a user's profile. If the webhook says a user got a specific SPL token, we just query that one specific token balance account. You're surgically updating only the state that changed. It keeps your database fast, your API costs practically at zero, and your front end incredibly snappy.
Let's do a quick recap, because these are literally the pillars of a rock-solid Web3 backend. Verify signatures over the raw request body. Enforce event ID idempotency so you never process things twice. Return precise HTTP status codes, and trigger targeted downstream queries. Now, to really master this stuff and dive into our advanced programming curriculum, you've got to visit forge.college to learn more about this subject and other awesome Web3 topics. Forge College provides all the hands-on engineering labs you need to actually get this right in a real-world production environment.
Now here's something to chew on before we go. Your listener works flawlessly in a pristine test environment where everything arrives exactly once, right in order. But are you truly ready to handle real-world synchronization failures? Keep all this idempotency logic fresh in your head, because in our next explainer, we are going to throw the absolute kitchen sink at our backend. We'll be testing this exact listener against chaotic network outages, crazy out-of-order events, and massive retry spikes that would normally just tear an API apart. Until then, keep building securely, and I'll catch you in the next one.